All right, everyone. Your favorite show is back, Nando Rome show. Uh, see, I think we picked a good time to start this back up. Uh, after tonight's loss, uh, week two football season, and the Eagles are doing Eagles things, unfortunately. But
The
I mean,
Eagles are
I'm
just
not as
doing Philly
mad.
things. They're just doing Philly things.
I'm not as mad. I know we know plenty of people right now who are blowing up the text, the group chats, just flipping out about.
Usually it's me.
Yeah, it is, and it's not. So we're in this weird vortex right now where,
I stay relatively calm,
yeah.
and and I'm proud to say I called that final interception. I called
Whoa.
it.
All
Sort of
right,
called
we'll
it. I
get
sort
to
of called
that.
it. Well,
We'll
okay.
get to that. But uh all right. So let's just start off with Monday night, the true home opener in Philly, hosting the Falcons. And yes, I have been really high on this Falcons team, like doing my previews on my other show. But the this team is beatable because they're still getting their shit together. And Kirk is, uh Kirk is a stiff back there.
He's a friggin' statue.
Yeah. So yes, the loss is tough because of that. Because I think by the end of the year that team is gonna look better than they are. Like I already knew like their defense was gonna be decent enough, but because they got Judon and they got the safeties and AJ Terrell. So they secondary is not bad. They finally got a pass rusher in Judon, and then they got Grady Jared up front. So they got somebody on each level of the defense. But I mean, things were done. So I'm not disappointed because it's week two and a lot of weird shit has happened in this league so far, and it's a wacky 2 weeks. The Steelers are 2-0, and they've only kicked field goals. I think they've only gotten one offensive
That's
touchdown. So I mean,
yeah, with two horrible quarterbacks. And
yes, and yeah. Guess what? I will tell our fellow fan base. Guess what? Nobody on this team is T.J. Watt, at least not yet. But T.J. Watt was in Kirk's ass because he's T.J. Watt, and he's just he's a beast.
he's a
So
monster.
yeah, that's the difference. Ultimately, especially in that last drive, the difference was there was no pass rush. Am I worried about it? No, because the one thing that I think will happen is that this defense will get better. It happened last year with the Dolphins. It took them a little bit to get it together with Vic's scheme. And I think that it's going to take a few weeks. I also think that the reason why people are freaking out at this 1-1 is because yes, this was a winnable game. The Falcons at this moment aren't as good as they look on paper, but I think people are over. I think people are overrating the Saints and the fact that like we have to go over there next weekend, and
I'm not worried about the Saints.
the Saints don't ever scare me. I'm sorry, and I should start changing that thought because part of it is because I don't like Sean Payton. I don't think he's that great of a coach.
Hmm.
Um, but he's overrated. But that's just all those years in New Orleans kind of stuck with me. But we don't want to get too ahead. So basically, tonight, no AJ. I think that was a big part, but I also don't think that. I think it was a big part not because the Eagles don't have the weapons. I think that it forces it makes it easier for defenses.
Yeah,
Um,
they don't have to worry about AJ and Smith.
yeah, they just have to worry about Smith, and
Yeah.
then um, you can, unfortunately, at this point in his career, I'm not saying it doesn't make him good. You can single cover, um, Devontae. Especially, I don't think he traveled, but if Terrell was moving from the sides, I think he was sticking to one side. But like you can you can get him one on one, and he'll probably beat most corners. But when you're keying in on just one guy, especially when I don't even think I'm looking at the stats right now. I don't even think Jahan Dotson he got a target. He caught one for 6 yards, just one target.
Yes, he had one.
Um, Dallas had four. He should have more, honestly, targets, but that's not obviously we're not in the headset to see what was called in or in the playbook to see who the primary receiver was. Uh so it's hard to tell, but obviously Devontae got 10 targets. Of course, that was gonna happen. He was the number one going into the game.
Yeah.
Um Next guy up was Covey with targets. He had six. But I think that was because they were trying, so this is the what's happening. I think that they're in a way trying to preserve Saquon as much as they can. He got a
Yeah.
total of 26 touches tonight in
Hmm.
total, including receiving. So I think they don't want to wear him out. He's already gotten like 20 something touches every the first two games. That's a lot of, you know, he's a
Yeah.
he's not a young buck, but he's not an old guy either. But it's still, they're trying to get the best out of because they're going to need him towards the end because he got five targets in the air. What they were doing with Covey was they're trying to get him with quick throws, and they were using Covey as like an extension of the running game by throwing short and throwing quick and having him get out, which it doesn't work a lot in the in the NFL. Not it doesn't work too only for the Chiefs, I guess. Those work for because Andy's always been good with those screens in general, even the
Yeah.
damn bubble screens. But yeah, I don't think. Yes, the final stat line for Jalen was 23 or 30 for 183, one touchdown, one interception, and one sack. So he only got sacked once. I know you brought that up during our text exchange, well, the group chat, that he hadn't got sacked. It took a while.
Oh, yeah. It took a while.
Yeah, before he got sacked. But was it flashy? No, but he was at one point. I think he was like 20 for 25 when I looked, like in the fourth, and
Hmm.
that I don't think this is on him. Yes, he threw the last interception,
It's
but
not
this
on
is
him.
they had the ball most of the fourth quarter. They
They
took
did.
away.
This game falls solely on the defense, and I'm going to
Yeah,
say the defensive line for not getting any type of pressure on the statue that is Kirk Cousins.
yeah. Well, that that's where it starts. I mean,
Like,
he's not getting any pressure, so he was able to sit there, and his receivers knew like the the thing that Vic's scheme runs a lot of zone, and I know we don't like that as Philly fans. We like to play man to man, and whatever. But Vic's scheme is primarily zones, and that's what they were playing, zones, and they were sitting on that last drive in between the zones to get. That's what you're supposed to do as a receiver. You're supposed to sit in between the zones if you know where they're at, and Kirk knew that too. So if the
mhm.
pass rush wasn't getting there, and I think the two times I think they got their hands on him. Well, he did get sacked once, but like the one other time when BG got in there, they called a penalty. I think on somebody that was covering. I think, or I don't know if they called the penalty on
Yeah,
BG. It was
it's
like
a
hands to the face. One
it
of the
was
two.
it was either a defensive hold or hands to the face. I can't remember.
Yeah. So they're not getting home, but the good thing is that it's only week two, and I don't know. Like I said, I think we're overblowing the Saints thing, and I think we're overblowing the Bucks thing. I'm not saying the Bucks aren't a good team. I mean, I think we're overblowing the Bucks thing because the last time we faced them in the playoffs, they beat us. But we faced them during the regular season and we beat them. Like it's not like the the thing that people forget is the NFL is about matchups too. And like from week to week, like you can see the Raiders just somehow match up better against the Ravens than they do with other teams, and they beat the Ravens on that Sunday because they just matched up better um, than than the Ravens did to them. But the the Raiders aren't going to win too many games. Like
No,
it's just
no,
you cash teams at the right time, but I don't think that this is. I mean, they're they're fine. That's just me. I don't know. I've been talking too much. Go ahead, Rome. What do you got for us? Who are you mad at besides the pass rush?
I don't know. I've calmed down since that final interception. I'm just more just frustrated at the defensive line. I mean, they're leaving the linebackers hanging out to dry. They're not getting. I just don't know what they can do. It's like they're not hungry to get the quarterback. They're not hungry.
Yeah,
I mean, Robinson was just they could have just handed the ball off the entire game to Robinson,
yeah.
and it, he was just immediately getting through the defensive line, like almost untouched, and being forced to be stopped by either one of the linebackers or the safeties.
Yeah, I
Like
think he had. I think they said he had. I'm doing the math right now. He had 110 total, like air and the ground
like
combined. But that's, I mean, that's their only weapon. I mean, Darnell Mooney had 88, but his biggest one was that touchdown. Like, so
yeah,
on 3 catches. So it's not.
and and they went away from what they were on that last drive. They went away from what they were doing all game. They went into basically prevent defense, and like I always freaking say, prevent defense prevents you from winning.
Yeah.
It's it just keep playing how you're playing. They weren't doing anything, and then you let them just march down the field in what, like 30 seconds?
Well, by the time they got, it was more because by the time they got the
Okay.
ball back, it was 34 seconds
What?
left.
Okay. So
It was a minute 40, I think, or minute 30. So a whole minute, basically.
it's like I don't even know where to start to fix that part. I'm only hoping that just the lack of them in preseason
I, I
playing.
think
I don't know. I
I think it comes down to the lack of the pass rush, right? Like Vic's D, like I'm not the biggest fan of his like defensive scheme, but it hasn't been bad. Like when he has the players like he did in Miami especially most of like the second half of the season, they look really good. Obviously, you got somebody like Jalen Ramsey that helps out, but they look really good. And it took them a little bit. And obviously Ramsey coming back from injury helped, but they it works. Like it works if you're getting the pass rush because he doesn't really blitz too much. Like this, that's where like we hated it, but that's where Gannon kind of got that philosophy because Gannon was a mix of Vic and Mike Zimmer a little bit. So they're not blitzing like too much. Um, they'll blitz, but the percentages are real low. Like they get it with the front. Uh, I don't know if it's I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because it is a new scheme. I don't know if because like they're, you know, like 2 point stance, standing up, which should be easier. I don't know. Like I don't know.
I mm,
I mean, some of
because
these guys played in it. Some of these
I,
guys playing in it. Like I always say, like Nolan Smith at Georgia, that they kind of play a 3-4, 3-3, whatever
yeah,
it is. But
but I'm not a fan of them standing up just for the fact is you're already up high.
that's what I mean.
So
Like
so then
people like Sweat or something, they're already kind of.
they're already
leverage.
kind of up high, so that they're losing that leverage because all the O line's got to do is when they snap the ball, they can get low and they push you off. It's that
Yeah,
simple.
I mean that could be it. And then Huff, yes, he's the big name out there because he
Yeah.
got the contract.
Where
But
the hell
Huff,
is he?
well, Huff, I think that part of his thing is also the standing up to. But yeah, where is he? You're right. I get those complaints, but I also like I kind of I don't. This team isn't. I'm gonna be honest. This team isn't bad. I know people are freaking out.
No, they're not bad.
It's we're 1-1 after week 2. We beat a good team week 1 in another country. Yes, the home opener. You don't want to lose that. You lose the home opener the way it was lost to a team that they're better than, but this team isn't. It's not a slouch. It's not like they were playing the Panthers.
Yeah,
Like which do they play them this year? I don't even know.
I
I think
don't
they
know.
do because they're playing the rest of the South. So yeah, so it's not like they were playing the Panthers and oh my god, like we should be embarrassed. Like you can look at this team on paper, like I said was saying in the beginning of the Falcons, and they're a pretty good team on paper. Um, they look bad against the Steelers because I don't know.
It's the
And
Steelers.
and honestly, they didn't until that last drive. They didn't look particularly like that awesome on offense until that last drive.
No,
Yes,
they
besides
were.
Bijan, they were handing the ball off to him, but
That was about it.
that was it. Like everything else looked like kind of stagnant. The one thing that I will say that I will agree with one of our best friends is that nothing for some reason I don't know why nothing offensively for the most part in Philly looks smooth. And I didn't want to like believe this, and now like they got a new coordinator, and I do like Kellen as a coordinator, and I know it's only week 2, but everything seems like so much harder than it does for other teams sometimes, like when they're on offense. I
Hmm.
don't I don't think it's the quarterback because it's been like that for a while, and it could be, but I don't think I'm not to the point where I'm like Jalen isn't it. Like everybody, like I hate to say this, everybody has a security blanket. This is the Burrow
Yeah.
has Chase, Mahomes has Kelsey, um, Lamar
Hmm.
has Andrews. Like everybody has a security blanket. Like nobody. I mean, Tom had Gronk for a lot of years. Like
Yep.
everybody has a security blanket. Yes. The problem the problem is we don't know this. How long did they know that like AJ wasn't going to be out? I know they announced it like Saturday, I guess, or Sunday. Like
Uh,
I think it was yesterday they announced it, but
yeah,
I know he wasn't
I think
practicing.
yeah, I think Saturday they announced he was like doubtful or something like
But
that.
I'm still not worried. I think Kellen has shown what he can do. The AJ thing doesn't seem to be serious. He'll be back. This just reminds me of AJ in Tennessee. I'm surprised it took this long. It took 3 years for him to have these issues. At Tennessee, he was out every other game because of his hamstring, and it hasn't
Hmm.
happened here. I mean, until this year.
Yeah.
Like, well, this is one time. We hope it's only the one time, but that I that was the one thing I was worried about AJ. I knew that if AJ played, he was going to get his, but in Tennessee, because I had him in fantasy a few years, and it was like, oh yeah, like he's not playing, he a hamstring, or he left the game early after trying to play, and the report came out after the game that the Eagles didn't push him to play because
Which is smart.
yeah, I think they took this. They understand what the goal is. The goal is to get to the postseason, and the goal is to make a run there. So you have to win enough games to do that. Nobody's gone undefeated since '72, and it's or since what year was it? That
Uh
2011? No, it wasn't 11. It was
oh.
7, 6.
No, was it?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I forget. Oh 08. Well, I know 11. I think 11 they played the Giants again. That was the second time they played the Giants, and the Giants won. Pretty
Yeah.
sure. But it was before that because it was the first time that they met that the Patriots went undefeated with the catch. The catch happened the second.
The catch,
Yeah.
the helmet catch.
Yep. So, um, I'm not freaking out. I do think that yes, this pass rush needs to get better. It's only 2 weeks and they've got one sack or
That's it.
well, two, I
Oh.
think actually, but it's because I think they got one late. Jordan Love, I think,
Uh,
but I forget who got it.
can't remember.
I forgot. I
Uh,
think was it Sweat. I think, but yeah, like if it continues, then yes, I'll be concerned with the pass rush. Right now, it's all looking good. I get it. People are freaking out about that, and this is sometimes why I hate like that all the numbers for people are out there because now we're like putting this pressure on somebody because they got the money. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But they had to pay someone. I mean, let's be honest. Nobody was out there as a free agent. Um, that was
Yeah, no, it
worth.
was.
I mean, you could argue whether right now it doesn't seem like Bryce was worth the money, but um, I think there's still a long season. If you look around the NFC, the top two teams are right now because they're undefeated. The Falcons and I mean not the Falcons, the Saints and the Buccaneers, and I think somebody else is undefeated. But those two teams are good. I don't think they're like great. I'm not on any given Sunday. Anybody can get a win, and the Bucks eked out a win against the Lions, but it wasn't like they dominated that game.
No.
I'm pretty sure. I was looking at the stat. Detroit outgained them that game and lost, and they lost going for it on fourth. Right at the end, and they had the ball and they drove all the way down, and they were short
Hmm.
from getting a first down. That would have been like first and goal. They would have got it, but yes, and Baker hasn't played bad because he hasn't been forcing things. He hasn't thrown a a interception yet. So he's been clean so far, and they're 2-0. But this was kind of like this game. It ended, I think it was like 22 to 18 or something or whatever it was.
Something like that.
It wasn't this crazy game. So a team everybody liked is 1-1 in Detroit. The Eagles are 1-1. The Niners are 1-1 with injuries because Debo's banged up now.
Hmm.
Um, so they're a different offense when Debo's not around. Uh like the Vikings, I think are the other team that's 2-0. Yes, I like the Vikings and Sam Darnold's been playing, lights out, but it's 2 games. You know what I mean? We'll see how Justin Jefferson, because he left the game late, how he's doing. I haven't
Hmm.
heard any updates, so it looks like it wasn't crazy serious, but um, we'll see what that's. I think eventually everything will even out, and yes, there's always like a surprise on both sides of AFC or NFC. There's always like one or two surprises of people who don't make it, and then there's like two new teams who make it into the
Hmm.
playoff because the one thing that people I think still forget nowadays is like the league is so much more like year to year. So a lot of the stuff that happened the year before doesn't like translate like a lot. So I'm not freaking out. I mean, it's 1-1 and like there's gonna be games that people obviously this is one of the games people thought they were gonna win. So like it sucks that they didn't win it.
Yeah,
But
it is what it is.
no, to me, yeah, kind of. I mean, you get up, you do it every day. Like this is the NFL. Like there's only like maybe 2 or 3 teams that are actually like very poorly ran, and they just suck.
Yeah,
But like if you kind of go to sleep, anybody can beat you. And like Atlanta's not one of those teams that sucks. They're pretty decent. So like they got New Orleans and the Bucks before the bye. I don't like the early bye, but it is what it is. And
yeah,
they're on the road. But yes, the Superdome is hard to play at, and I will give New Orleans this. Their defense is pretty decent. Uh, their offense has been. playing really good.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they played Carolina and they caught the Cowboys slipping. But I don't think the Cowboys are as good as they were last year. I
No.
mean, I think they're still going to get wins. Uh, and New Orleans, New Orleans' offense isn't as good as they're playing right now. And that's like I said, week one was against the horrible Panthers, and then you can make what you can make out of facing Dallas. And the Bucks, yes, they got a really good win week one, and then they got a win, but it wasn't like crazy impressive against a really good Lions team. But they got the win. At the end of the day, what matters is they got the win. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I know people don't like going back, and I sometimes don't like to bring this up, but nobody's won this division back to back in years. Cowboys won the division last year. It looked like we were going to finally break that
Yeah.
record going 10-1, and it didn't happen. And I don't think Dallas is as good. Like they beat the Browns, and the score looked worse than when I was watching the game, I thought it was. The Browns offense is ass. And
Yeah.
well, because the quarterback is ass now. So like they got to win on the road, and it looked impressive, but it really wasn't. And then if you look at the offensive stats, it's not like Dak had like this crazy day. It was mostly like the
Mm-mm.
defense making Deshaun look like normal because that's what it is now. I don't think it's. I don't know if he's ever going to go back to that. But after the bye, they got Cleveland at home. Tough one because Cleveland's defense is tough.
Yeah.
But if by week by week six, I think this defense will be playing a little better, and I,
Hopefully.
I think this. Oh, why? I think they will. And then this offense, and then you go to New York for the Giants. I mean, yes, they beat Giants beat us last year. We were kind of playing crappy though, but they hadn't beaten us really in like 6 seasons. So I don't
Yeah.
think that's going to change. Cincinnati at Cincinnati is going to be tough, especially with them starting 0-2. Uh, but they got Washington coming up this week, so they'll be 1-2. So
Mm-hmm.
um, Cincinnati's got I wouldn't say they have issues, but they're beatable. But Cincinnati's always gotten out to since Burrow's been there, they've gotten out to slow starts. They kind of turn it up at the end.
Yeah.
And
So they should be
Jacksonville,
good.
I don't know what's going on. Doug might get fired. They might be 0-3 to start the season. They go to Buffalo
Oh yeah, they'll be
this
0
week.
3.
They're gonna be
They'll be
0
0 3.
3. And like I said, I don't know as much as I like Trevor. I don't know that he's actually improved from the guy he was coming out of college. So
He's been average.
he's just been going off his talent. And then the big one, it will be in week 10 when they go to Dallas. And they finally got to get a win in Dallas. And I think they're going to split because of it. But I think they'll beat the Commanders and the Giants both times. So that's the division right there. They'll be 3-1. That's just the
Sounds about
division.
right.
And
Yeah,
then you
that
get
sounds right.
the Rams are falling apart. Puka's hurt. Cup is going to IR too. They don't have any receivers. I mean, they're going in good time because they could be back by then because it's only 4 weeks that you have to be out if you're put in the certain IR.
Yeah.
But we play them late. Yeah, Carolina, Pittsburgh. Yeah, they'll be fine. They're gonna be fine. There's some of these tough games that people see, like they're gonna have to win one of those games, and they're capable of winning one of those games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, going to Cincinnati, the Cleveland one that I mentioned, um, and maybe going to Baltimore and getting a win, possibly late in the year. Who knows? Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's also a trade deadline. Who knows? Howie might do his thing.
Howie may already be picking up the phone.
He might be. He could be. Also, I mean, here's a big worry for me. Devin White again out. I saw this tweet before we started recording. Somebody was like, "It's starting to blame Howie for his bad GMing because of Huff and Devin. Huff for not getting any sacks and Devin for not even playing yet."
Well, Howie doesn't put the players on the field. That's Fangio. So Fangio doesn't think.
I agree.
White is not good enough to play on the get on the field, then that's just the way it is.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
if N'Kobe outplayed him, he outplayed him. If Bond
Yeah.
outplayed him. I
Yeah, I mean,
mean,
he can't predict that. He put I think this is the most he's invested in an offseason to the position. Like
yeah,
and it created competition. And now we're seeing so far the 2 weeks the N'Kobe we've been waiting for. You know what I mean?
yes, finally,
And then we found so far a gem in Zach Bond. But I'm gonna be clear about this. Even with that group, they're still not the best. Even all of them, even Junior, they're not the best at coverage. They're very good at getting
yeah,
downfield. They're very good at blitzing. So those guys are very good against the run. And yes, Bond had 2 sacks um week 1. So that's where it was. He ended up having 2 sacks. He's the one that got the sacks, not the D line. So and guess
yeah,
what? They didn't bring him this time because of there's different matchups with different teams.
yeah,
You just gotta it's just matchup based. And I didn't see him come a lot. And if he did, he got blocked. But like Atlanta's offensive line isn't that much of a slouch either. So like they're not as good as ours, but like and
mm-hmm,
they held up tonight. Let me be honest.
yep,
They held up tonight. He only got sacked once. But
yep,
I mean, he did put the bodies there. He did invest. I mean, were they the best? Maybe not altogether. Like they all have deficiencies, but that's just like you can kind of cover up. But the thing that has to wake up, like you said, and we've been talking about, is this pass rush. Uh, that's going to change everything. So because I listen, we were texting during it, and I'm already sold on Quinyon.
yes.
I'm
I'm
already
100%
sold.
sold on him. He's
I'm already sold. We'll see what the Maddox injury looks like because Cooper got in. I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't paying attention most of that last drive. I was doing something else. So I don't know how bad or good Cooper did on that last drive, or if he was out there.
I didn't impinge. I'd have to go back and watch some of the tapes.
Okay. So like I don't know. I'm not freaking out. The point of this whole thing is I'm not freaking out. Yeah, the Superdome is tough. It's loud, but I don't think I don't
They'll be
think New
fine.
Orleans is this world beater, and I don't think Derek Carr is somebody I'm scared of. And I was a real big Derek Carr fan, like when he was
Oh
a,
yeah,
a Raider early on, and he got his first contract, and then I just kind of it changed because I couldn't die on a on a train going off the railroad
it's,
because I can admit when I was wrong, but I mean, yes, it's a good start. Like I'm gonna be honest with people, Olave is really good, but and the other guy's been doing good, but he's not really a number 2. I'm sorry, Shaheem,
mhm,
not really a number 2 receiver. He's just a speedster. Yes, he's been able to get over the top on defenses, and like that last drive, everything was in the zone. It wasn't like a big play. They just kind of Kirk just dumped it where he
yeah,
needed to and got down the field. This defense, the way Vic plays, his thing, which was what Gannon did, they don't like giving up the big play. And yes, there was a mixed tackle by CJ that gave up that big play, but they like to be in
yeah,
front of them. That's why they always play the 2 shells or
yeah,
too high because they don't. The whole philosophy is to prevent the big plays, keep everything in front. So I don't I don't know if Shaheem's going to sneak in. We'll see,
we'll
but
see.
I'm not as scared. It's a long season. They can go 2-0 the next 2 games,
Yeah,
and
we'll
they'll
be
be three
talking
and one
about
heading to the bye.
and everybody will talking about how great they are again.
Yeah, because everybody, unfortunately, and I hate this. Everybody's opinion of something is so it's recency bias. So if they go into New Orleans and get that win, people are going to be like, "Oh yeah, like they beat the team that you know, was putting up 91 points the 2 weeks beforehand. Like that's really
Hmm.
impressive." oh, they went to Tampa Bay and they beat the 3-0 team. Because Tampa plays Denver next. So they'll be 3-0. Like they beat the 3-0 team, they beat the 2-0 team. Like so people get recency bias.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think they'll be fine. I'm not freaking out. This is the one thing I will agree with Elliot about. He tweeted this too during the game. Hurts looked and played better than he did against Green Bay.
Yes.
And the stats won't say that. At least the passing yards and everything else,
Yeah.
but he wasn't forcing it. I'm gonna be honest. You can say whatever you want about that last throw, but there was a guy in his face, and I think that altered the throw a little bit too. But yes, his eyes were locked in on Devontae. Yes, I will
Yes.
admit that. I'm not gonna not admit that, but I don't think that was fully the best throw he could have had because he got hit kind of at the end, and it ended up having a little bit more air. But
Yeah.
and yes, I you did make that comment. I don't think Nick took over. I do think that Nick does have the decision over are we going for it or not. But then he tells Kellen has to come up with the play. They came up with that throw to Saquon. Saquon dropped it, and I
Mm-hmm.
get it. But I don't think Nick like technically took over and drew that play up. I think because they don't really they didn't really run that under Nick. They ran that play like 2 times tonight.
Mm-hmm.
The play action into the flat, play action to Saquon, the back to him in the flat off the play action. That is Kellen. Kellen made the final decision. Kellen likes, if you look at it, Kellen likes to throw in the red zone, which is one of the complaints like the Dallas fans used to complain about when he was there, was that he'll do that a lot. And
Yeah.
if it worked, we wouldn't have cared. It's always like that. If it worked, we wouldn't have cared,
Exactly.
whatever. But it didn't work. And that yes, they might learn from it. That's what you're supposed to do. But I think they will. I think Kellen is a good coordinator. I think they'll figure it out on both sides. I think both coordinators are really good. Uh
Yeah.
they just gotta I think it's gonna take a little bit of time for things.
Mm-hmm.
Um not that they yes, they they haven't looked as explosive because, and as they should with all the weapons that they have, but I'm fine. I'm fine. We'll be got New Orleans on Sunday, and you move on from there, and then you have Tampa. So that's what you gotta look forward to. But
Yep.
they're winnable games. I don't care what anybody says
Oh
about the
yeah.
record or what New Orleans has done. They're winnable games. Um, there's yes, two teams haven't been able to stop New Orleans, but I don't think this is sustainable for them. That's just me.
Mm-hmm.
But I also kind of look at things a little different than people do. So most people do. So, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
that's all I got. People, chill the fuck out. There you go.
chill the fuck out. Relax.
Yeah, that too.
R
Hit you with the
E
Rogers.
L A X.
Yeah.
Relax.
All right. Well, that does it for us this week. Like, subscribe, share, all that.
All that good
Because we're
stuff.
back. All right, guys. Peace out.
Peace.